whenever you play a transgender player, you know that in your heart, even if you win, it doesn't make any difference. It's unfair. It's completely unfair. My concerns are that for the future of women's sports and women's pool, because we have stories of 18-year-old snooker players and pool players that are practicing 8 hours a day and already feel like they're not good enough, and that there's a level they're expected to reach now that's unreachable, to be honest with you, because it doesn't matter how much practice a female puts into the sport. They will never be able to compete against biological males at this sport. I think the unfairness is clear. Everybody can have a competitive advantage. My opponent has quoted as saying recently that she feels she's improved to such a high level due to having her own table and getting coaching and playing lots of hours. Well, there are lots of women that do have those advantages, and we accept that we have competitive advantages and competitive disadvantages. Like, my back is bad, so I have a competitive disadvantage. But we accept that they are in every sport. This is a category advantage. Being biologically male, playing against females, gives you a clear category advantage. And categories were created in the first instance to create fairness. So you wouldn't put a 17-year-old on the pitch with a group of under 10 footballers, would you? And because you know it's going to cause them physical harm, and it's your job to protect and make sure that doesn't happen. When the U-turn happened, that absolutely devastated not just myself, but loads of players were so elated when they announced they were going to have born female category, and the elation was felt silently, but it was an elation, and it was such a high. Finally, we're getting somewhere with this, and then 8 weeks later, when they U-turned it, I haven't drunk for 3.5 years, and I was very, very close to buying a bottle of vodka. Sorry, on that occasion, and sorry, I don't want to get upset, and I didn't even want to talk to my partner or my son for shove myself away, and I just cried and cried and cried, and I just felt that I couldn't be the only one who felt this kind of emotion about it, because whenever you play a transgender player, you know that in your heart, even if you win, it doesn't make any difference. It's unfair. It's completely unfair. So it's really difficult, and that was, quite frankly, the most difficult thing I've ever done in my entire life, was to walk away from a final that is only the 4th final I've ever been in, and to walk away from that was extremely difficult. And I've never even conceded a frame of pool, never mind an entire match, because I find it disrespectful to concede. But I felt like I needed to protect my own mental health and protect the future of the sport for the young ones. Because I'm 50, you know, I've played this game for 30 years, and I'm coming towards the end of my career, if you like. But this is for the ones that are just starting and feel like they're giving up. Everybody feels silenced, and that, I think the silence just has to stop. I challenged one of the organisations over a year ago about whether these rules were being abused, if you like, and the proper tests were being put in, and was told that they were. But I don't know how we get to the point of asking for tests when you're not allowed to legally ask someone what their gender is. When I first was able to leave the hall and go back and reflect, I started to feel an incredible amount of guilt and empathy, and the realization that, you know, it was live streamed, and because obviously I haven't been in many finals, and that maybe I embarrassed my opponent and humiliated her, and I got quite upset about that, and you know, was even said, you know, this is the kind of thing that might cause her to hurt herself and stuff like that, because I have anxiety, so I worry a lot. And then I was sent a video from a different angle, and to be honest with you, I was just, the empathy that I did have for my opponent, and the feeling that maybe I hadn't done the right thing, it all disappeared when I saw the video from the other angle, because my opponent did not look, it looked to me like the only person that left that arena devastated was me. We need to, the IOC need to put something in a solid decision instead of leaving it up to each organisation to decide for each individual sport, because in my opinion, this shouldn't be happening in any women's sports, because a woman should have the right to refuse to play any opponent if that's going to have an effect on her physical or psychological health. And we may not have, like I said, we may not have the physical damage that is potentially there in pool, but we definitely do have the psychological side of it, because I've been through it, Alexandra has been through it, and many other pool players have been through this. In fact, when I conceded, I had 2 women in that pool come up to me in tears and say that thank you for giving me a voice finally, because I've been quiet about this for so long, and I even felt like I couldn't speak in my own family about it and stuff. So to have that is a positive part of this, you know, because all we want is fairness above all else. There's a billiards tournament, for example, that goes on in I think it's in Glasgow, and a lady has messaged me informing me that next year it's likely this billiards contest will not go ahead, because last year it was won by a transgender player and the women don't want to take part now. So if inclusion is causing self-exclusion, you can't really call it inclusion anymore, can you? I have had hundreds of friend requests from the pool playing community. I have had men shaking my hand, women hugging me and not even letting go for, you know, for 10 seconds, 15 seconds at a time, squeezing me tight, saying thank you so much for what you've done to make a stand in for the sport, because we all feel like we've been silenced, and women are still being silenced. In snooker, they're being silenced still right now. You know, they put women every time the transgender player wins or gets near to winning a tournament, that it's posted on the women's snooker website, but the comments are closed. So none of the women can have a voice to say whether they agree with it or not. In snooker, there's only been 1 woman ever in the world that's made a 147 maximum break. And men, even amateur men, make 147 breaks regularly now. And you have to pot 36 balls in a row to make maximum break, which requires the utmost focus and concentration. And even Rhiannon Evans is who's 7 times world champion at snooker or something, has never made a maximum break. Women do not make maximum breaks. I can only find one, the Thai lady Mink, who recently made one in the last couple of years. And it's the same in snooker. The break part of it, the actual break, it is the most important shot, because if you pot a ball on the break, you can clear the table if you are a good enough level. But women will do this, you know, it used to be a thing to be celebrated when a woman got total clearance in the pool. It does happen more regularly, and there are a handful of women in the world that can do this like 2 or 3 times in a row, you know, clear the table, break dish, break dish. But the transgender players, they can do it 5 times in a row, beat you 5-0, you do not even get a shot, and they've just pot 40 balls in a row, which is the equivalent of making a maximum break in snooker. And this is the level that we are now being expected to reach. It's unreachable. And I also heard this morning that they've brought into a contract about fining women for next year if they concede a match. I think even though pool isn't classed as a physical sport, there actually is a physical aspect to it, to be honest. And my opponent actually did write on her Facebook last year after the Prestatum event that playing pool for 15 hours really does take it out of you. And it actually does. Do you know what I mean? So especially for me, with my physical health being as it is with all my spinal issues, it is a physical thing for me. Every time I have played a transgender player, I think about it before the match, I think about it during the match, and I think about it after the match, about how unfair it is and that I can't believe I'm playing this match. And this is a level I can't reach. And I'm watching some of the shots they play thinking, females don't play these shots down the rails like this, and they don't clear up like this, and they have longer reach. A lot of them are taller than us. on average. And more power in the break shot is really important, because as in tennis, a man will hit a ball harder. In golf, a man will, that's why we have shorter holes in golf, presumably, is because a man can hit the ball much further than a woman. And I would presume that in pool it's the same, that if you hit the ball, you can hit it harder if you're a man. They're built stronger than us, with broader shoulders and longer fingers as well for bridging over balls. Bridge shots are very, very difficult for women. And some women I've put in our chat group that, like, leading up to when they're going to have a period, for example, because you get the hormonal changes there as well, that they literally feel like their arm has fallen off, and it's a completely different player. And that when someone wrote it, all these other women would go, I get that. I understand that Harriet said that my opponent, she said that her testosterone, the medicine she takes, makes her sleepy, so she gets a disadvantage there, making her sleepy. But yeah, she put on Facebook at Pool that she was practicing at 5 a.m. So if you're tired, you know, why are you playing at 5 a.m? I've had messages from people of support from Australia, America, Poland, all over the world. Literally, I have been inundated with support. I have had also, on the flip side of that, some really hideous messages as well. I did have one asking me if I'd ever considered suicide, and saying that I'm just a loser who walked away from the match because I'm too scared to play and I know I'll get beaten. And we only have 2 transgender players in the pool. Yes, we do at the moment. But they're ranked 2nd and 5th in the rankings. So they are taking up 40% of the top 5 spots. There's also spots in international teams that are being taken up by transgender players. As we've already got ranked 2nd and 5th 2 transgender players, I think if it's allowed to continue in less than 5 years' time, I would like to, you can quote me on saying that the top 8 will be all transgender players in pool and snooker as well, and other sports. In America, it's an issue for them with scholarships and things, isn't it? So they lose university places because of this, which to me is just absurd, to be honest with you, that youngsters are being told that they've got to reach this unreachable level, if you like, of a biological male. I just find it, I mean, how did we get here is my question. It's not about whether you win or not. It's about the fact that we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to be put in a position where we risk putting ourselves in a position where we are going to end up with psychological or physical damage in a sport just because a biological male chooses to live his life the way he does. Because that's the bottom line here, is that we are being made to do this. We're being forced to do this in a way. I would like a choice. And my choice is removed. So therefore I've removed myself. We need to protect the future and the youngsters more than anything else. That's the aim here, is to get fairness in women's sports. In cricket and football, I mean, you're at risk of serious harm. I can totally understand why they won't play. Look, I don't play a physical sport as such, but it's the same thing. They're trying to protect themselves from physical harm, clearly, because a man, or biological male, sorry, would hit a cricket ball considerably harder than a female would. And I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of the cricket ball coming towards me at whatever miles an hour it is they hit them at. And the same with football. If a male came in for a tackle against a female, I'm sure that there will be some serious physical harm caused. But not only that, you have to look at the psychological harm caused as well. Some people have suggested a transgender section, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure about that, because for the transgender community, obviously, I have a friend who's transgender that I practice pool with. She actually is in full support of me. A lot of transgender don't come out as transgender and would not want their identity revealed as transgender. So therefore, I think having a separate category would also cause some exclusion there. I do think that biological males, whether transgender or not, should have to play in the sport they were born in, like the same with biological females, because I don't think a transgender section would work for the transgender community. This is the level that we're all expected to be at now, is this super, super, super duper level, which is easy for any biological male to reach, but it's not easy for any woman to reach. Women have been silenced just quickly because of fear of being accused of being transphobic. That is the consensus of why people don't speak out about this subject. And it's not a trans issue, it's a fairness issue.